the Urbana University Library will host the traveling exhibition Benjamin Franklin in Search of a Better World from August the 28th through October the 7th. This colorful exhibit looks at the remarkable life and achievements of one of America's most beloved personalities. For further exhibit and program information, please email Ben Franklin at urbana.edu or call 937-484-1041.
Hi, I'm Anthony Ehresmann, and this is Urbana Leader, and today we have a very special guest, Ben Franklin. Welcome, Ben Franklin. How are you doing?
Thank you, sir. Doctor. That's all right. Doctor is the correct appellation, but you may call me Ben. I have always considered myself a man of the people, and I'm very happy to have you greet me as such.
Great, great. And so have you had a chance to go through the exhibit?
I have. I'm very impressed that in the 21st century, people are still interested in my life and times.
Yeah.
I have been told that many of my values that I tried to promulgate across my life are still quite applicable to 21st century Americans. And if so, I am very glad to know it.
Oh, and we have pointed out many times, and in fact, we did an interview with a couple of our staff people here at the university where the exhibit is showing it here at Urbana University, that when I was doing some research, how relevant a lot of what you taught and a lot of what you advocated was 100% relevant today. And I was shocked.
Well, I thank you, and I always tried to live a useful life, and I'm very impressed today that this exhibit that you are showing here at your university and in your community is an exhibit that is put around the country by an association called the American Library Association.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure that you know that of my interest in books and
The lending library, you started that.
I started the first
Absolutely.
public library with the help of my friends in the Junto in Philadelphia, a group that I formed in order to help us prosper and do well in business in an ethical way and to do good works. I can't claim credit for the first free public library alone and wouldn't claim to do so.
Well, and I understand that, and just touching on other people's good works, you helped out a lot of people, and you did so because you wanted to see them succeed.
Well, I certainly did. One of the innovations that I made in business was, and I think today you call it franchising, was to take trusted employees and help set them up in business.
Absolutely.
Which I did all up and down the East Coast and far away as the West Indies. And I did stake them often to their first printing presses and some of the important things that they needed to get started, and I profited from it too. I make no bones about it that I took a percentage of their earnings for a certain time and thus started what I understand is today your franchising operations, of which apparently you have plenty.
Yes, we do. McDonald's probably being one of the biggest ones, which is a hamburger joint.
Oh, well, I'm glad to know that my friends, the Scotsmen, have profited as well.
All right. Now, but in contrast, though, you invented a lot of things that you never patented and you never profited from.
No.
We're standing next to one, an example of one, which is a lightning rod.
Well, I was offered a very handsome royalty for what was known as the Franklin stove, although I was a little embarrassed by that title. I called it the Pennsylvania fireplace. It sold very, very well, and it was a stove that heated rooms much more efficiently and was cheaper to run. So everybody wanted one. And when the governor of the colony of Pennsylvania offered me a very handsome royalty on each one sold, I wrote him and said, no, I declined with thanks, that as we owe much to the invention of others, we should be happy to serve others with an invention of ours. We should do it freely and willingly. And as I am brought around the United States today in modern times by my 21st century guide, Mr. Christopher Lowell, I always make it a point to tell people that although I might have become quite rich by that invention and others, the lightning rod being the most important, I didn't feel that it was right. I do feel that we all owe a debt of service to our country, and in those days I to my colony, and I was very happy to live a useful life for the benefit of my fellow man.
Very long and useful. Thank you very much. And not only that, but the battery. I'm an electronics engineer. I'm a retired electronics engineer. And so, hey, if I'd invented the battery, I'd be a very wealthy man right now. But in today's terms, you'd be considered the first major open source company.
Well, I don't understand the term, sir.
It means that you invent something and then you let other people take it and run with it.
Oh, absolutely. And as a scientist, I also thought it very important to give credit to others who had come before me or to others who had made variants on some of my own experiments and my own inventions. A case in point is the very experiment that gave rise to the lightning rod that you're speaking of. I conducted the famous kite flying experiment with my son in June of 1753 in Philadelphia. What I did not know until later was that my works, which had been translated into many languages, including French, had been studied very carefully by scientists across the world. And they too were conducting electrical experiments. And my lightning rod was the product of an experiment that was really produced for the first time a month earlier than I had done, in May of 1753. And that was by French scientists in the little town of Marly, near Paris.
Great, great. And speaking of Paris, you speak French.
Yes.
You're a very good speaker of French.
Well,
I don't speak French.
sorry.
We do have some viewers who are in France.
Oh.
And do you have a short message for anybody in France?
I certainly do. It is with great pleasure that I say the following, and for our English-speaking audience, I will translate immediately afterwards. Les États-Unis doivent une dette énorme au peuple français, une dette que nous n'oublions pas du tout. Le travail que nous avons fait ensemble, moi et les ministres du roi, Sa Majesté Louis XVI, en particulier le ministre des Affaires étrangères, ce travail a abouti dans un traité de commerce et d'amitié qui a commencé, ce que j'ai compris aujourd'hui, est une longue amitié vieille de plus de 2 siècles entre la France et les États-Unis. Alors, je dis vive la France. What I had just said to my French-speaking friends, particularly in France, was that the United States owes an enormous debt to the French people, a debt that we should never forget. It was thanks to the French people that we concluded a treaty of friendship and commerce in my second year as ambassador in France, and the French people contributed greatly to the winning of our American Revolution. Long live France.
Thank you very much. And you know, and you are very much beloved in France.
Thank you.
Very much beloved. In fact, your face is practically plastered everywhere.
Well, I am very grateful for
They're very
that.
fond of you.
I'm very grateful for that, and I did have the privilege, thanks to my 21st Century Guide, of presenting some programs in modern France, in Paris, in Grenoble, and Orléans, the last few years. Thanks to the modern French government, I returned to the Paris that I had loved so much between 1776 and 1785. And although, of course, I found it much changed, there were some things that I found very much the same as well.
Great, great. Now, getting back to our little thing, you know, we had, I was watching something that's called a TV, and right here you'll see what's called an harmonica. An harmonica. Am I saying that right?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
A glass harmonica.
Glass harmonica. And you know they're starting to make these things again.
I'm delighted to hear it.
And there's also some very contemporary people who are learning how to play this. And I understand that you loved to play this thing. And from what I've read, that you practiced every day.
Well, I think that that's one of those legends that are attributed to me that is a slight exaggeration. The harmonica came